David Miliband, obviously been a very difficult week for you and the Miliband families and everything else. What, at the end of it, have you decided to do with your career?
Well, I've decided that I can best serve the Labour Party and support Ed's leadership from the backbenches in the House of Commons rather than the shadow cabinet. I think that gives him the space to lead the party as he sees fit without any distractions or suggestions of splits and divisions. And it also gives me the chance to recharge my own batteries and think through the big issues that I want to make a contribution to in Britain in the future.
And what do you say to those who say, well, the really loyal thing to do to the party would be to serve to your utmost behind your brother?
Well, I will serve to my utmost. The easy thing would be to say, look, I'll run for the shadow cabinet, carry on the important work there, but actually I think that would be a route to real difficulty for all of us and difficulty for the party, because instead of focusing on the big issues facing Britain in 2015 and beyond, there would be permanent scrutiny of body language, everything from sneezes to comments about what they meant. And I think it's better for a party to have one clear leader, no issues, no Kremlinology about the different positions of different people. And I will be a very, very loyal supporter of Ed's leadership from the backbenches. I think that's the cleanest and clearest thing to do, although not the most obvious and easy thing to do.
Obviously, that there's been a setback. I mean, what is your remaining political ambition ultimately?
To see a Labour government that helps change Britain, and I want to make a contribution to that from the backbenches. I want to do some hard thinking about the big issues that we have to confront. I've managed to touch some of those in my work in government, in education, in environment and climate change, in foreign policy. I want to dig deeper into them, and I want to make sure I'm serving my constituents in South Shields. I also think that in the leadership campaign we launched a different kind of politics, training 1,000 community organisers around the country. That movement for change is, I think, a precious thing for the future of politics, and I want to carry on that important work.
Why do you think you lost in the end?
Well, a relatively small number of people decided they wanted to vote for Ed rather than me is the simple answer. And in the end, I think that there was a choice of two strong candidates, and the electorate decided, the selectorate decided by narrow margin that Ed should be the leader. And I think that I'm really proud of my campaign. It was a tough campaign. There's no point in denying that. It was tough anyway to run for the leadership. Tough when your brother's running. Tougher when your brother's running. But I think that the historians will have to dig through as to exactly what happened. But I'm really proud of the way we ran the campaign, the positive campaign that we ran, that I think helped set a tone for the leadership campaign that was good for the Labour Party.
Do you think Labour should rethink its selectorate, as you call it, and how it chooses its leaders?
Well, that's something that, however tempting it is to offer some views...
Well, even Neil Kinnock, who backed your brother, he says it should change.
Well, I think that it's important that I don't get in the way of that. If Ed wants to develop plans to reform, then that's his own choice. But he's the leader, and one of the rules that is very important is that he must have an open field to lead as he sees fit. I think it's really important that he follows up his speech. He's allowed to follow up his speech, his strong speech yesterday, with the sort of determined leadership that the Labour Party wants.
You were both sort of very generous towards each other and wishing each other well and saying you were right to run. I get the slight sense that as brothers you hadn't really thought through the full consequences of
That's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, it's a very unusual situation. There's no point in denying it was a tough campaign. It was a tough campaign. I got more of a sense last year that Ed wanted to run, and he was perfectly within his rights to do so, so it wasn't a complete shock. Although, of course, once the campaign gets going, it's then a long and arduous process, a grueling process. But I think that it didn't become the bloodbath that many people predicted, because
until now. I mean, that's the problem in the sense that you are the victim of.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not dead. I'm still here. I mean, it didn't become that bloodbath that was anticipated. In fact, good humour and good cheer was kept up right the way through, and good family relations as well.
I mean, do you regret staying loyal to Gordon Brown?
I don't. I always made the decision. I don't regret that. No, I always made the right decision for the party and for the country. And I don't regret remaining loyal. No, not at all. I think I was.
Because you probably could have been not only Labour leader but Prime Minister.
Well, I was ready to run in May 2010 for the leadership of the party, and I'm really proud of the campaign that I ran. I don't regret the decisions I made before, because I think that I wasn't willing, I know I wasn't willing, to make a bad situation worse by joining my friend James Purnell in leaving the government. I don't think that would have achieved anything.
Do you think he, Gordon Brown, and his supporters have shown the sort of loyalty that you might have earned?
Well, I think that the whole Labour Party is going to unite behind Ed's leadership. One of my supporters said to me today, look, when I spoke to them and said I wasn't going to be standing for the shadow cabinet, they said, look, you've been our leader, but now Ed's our leader. And that, I think, is a really good attitude of unity and of commitment that, in fact, has typified the campaign that I ran. He
told me this morning that he felt he had not betrayed you at any point in this. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't see this in terms of betrayal at all. That's not the right way to see this. This is two adult people who happen to be brothers. They've got their own views about the future of the party and the country. One's won, and people often say magnanimity in victory. It's important to have magnanimity in defeat as well.
How big would you describe the difference between you in terms of policy?
I think there is a chasm between us and the Conservative government, and that is the difference that politics makes, the real difference in politics. One of the things that I learned from my dad, who was further to the left in politics, is that he always said the differences within the left are much smaller than the differences between left and right. And if he can say that in the position that he was in, then my goodness, the differences between Ed and I are very small indeed.
But obviously Iraq is the big one, perhaps.
Well, no, I don't accept that at all. And I think that we have very, very strong shared values. We have a very, very strong shared vision embodied in the Labour Party for the future of the country. And I'm not going to be tempted in any way at all down the track of differences and divisions. We're one united Labour Party.
We know what you did at the time, and we know what you thought at the time. But with hindsight, do you agree with your brother now?
Well, one of the things, Ed said yesterday, let's draw a line under Iraq. He's absolutely right to do so. You know, I've always said that if we'd known then what we know now, then of course there wouldn't have been a war. But let's draw a line.
Because there is a sense that perhaps had you won, because of your closeness to Tony Blair, the party would never have united behind you in the way that it appears to be.
Well, I hope that's wrong. I mean, I hope that whoever won would have had the wholehearted support of the party. And actually, a lot of the people who didn't support me said, when they told me they weren't supporting me, they said, look, if you win, 100% support. And we know the dangers of division, and I'm not willing to risk anything in that line. We've got to make sure that we present the most clear and coherent and competent and credible opposition to the government, and we've got to be an alternative government as well.
But you must have a feeling, though, that the B team have emerged from this. The people who never won elections for Labour are now kind of the group or the clique at the top of the Labour Party.
Well, Ed has a good record of supporting winning candidates in elections over the last few years. He's been an important part of the victories that we've achieved, and I think that Tony did a remarkable thing in winning 3 elections for Labour. There's no question about it. If that's what you're asking, he had twice the length of time in government of any previous Labour government. And Gordon and the Jack Straw and David Blunkett at the beginning, those were very big figures in a remarkable period of Labour history. If we can ever emulate 3 consecutive victories again, that would be a great thing. But I don't. So I think that's important. And we've got to make sure, though. Tony always used to say, people will come along after me and say, we've got to modernise, we've got to move on, we've got to do things differently. And that's what's happening.
And you were never tempted to follow him and simply find another life away from Westminster?
No, I've said all the way through the leadership election that I wasn't going to be elected by the people of South Shields in May and then waltz off in September. I've got really strong commitments to my constituency. They've been fantastic to me. I want to remain a parliamentarian, remain a member of Parliament, committed to my constituents, but also making sure that I'm contributing to the health of the Labour Party.
But if someone offered you an important job elsewhere, would you consider?
If you're offering me your job, Adam, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be tempted by that. I mean, I'm very, very committed to being an MP, and I hope that I can do justice to the people I represent.